His father was a Nazi and a tyrant, and his mother tried to cure him of his homosexuality. He grew up in poverty when everyone was content with what they had and did not want more. But he never looked for easy ways, and even risked immigrating illegally to the United States. Everything was for the sake of one crazy dream to conquer Hollywood. Today we will talk about a living legend, the 38th governor of California, Arnold Schwarzenegger. What was more difficult for him, to get rid of the German accent or to be a faithful husband? Which of his films did Schwarzenegger recommend using as an instrument of torture? And what is the old secret that destroyed Arnie's family? It is the Biographer channel, and we're getting started. Alois Arnold Schwarzenegger was born on July 30th, 1947 in the Austrian village of Thal, near Graz. Arnie was the second son of Gustav Schwarzenegger and his wife, Aurelia. The family of the future film star professed Catholicism and attended church every Sunday. A year before the birth of Arnold, the firstborn appeared in the family, Maynard Schwarzenegger. Such a sonorous surname comes from the name of the Swiss village of Schwarzenegg, which is part of the commune of Unterlagenegg. After the Anschluss of Austria in 1938, Gustav Schwarzenegger joined the National Socialist German Workers' Party, where he became a brown shirt. During World War II, he served as a military policeman during the invasions of Poland, France, and the Soviet Union. He participated in the blockade of Leningrad and was wounded there. According to Holocaust scholar Michael Berenbaum, Gustav Schwarzenegger served in theaters of war where they committed atrocities, but it is impossible to know from the documents whether he played any role. After denazification, he was allowed to work as the chief of the local police, since there was no evidence of Gustav's commission of any war crimes. The family lived poorly, so their house was above the police station. The family didn't have indoor plumbing until Arnie was a teenager. Not surprisingly, Schwarzenegger recalled the purchase of a refrigerator as one of the most vivid memories of his youth. Later, he admitted that poverty gave him the strength and incentive to grow, achieve more, and work hard.
None of those luxuries, all of those things, made you much more hungry for success.
According to Arnold, his parents were very strict. I think many times I'm very strict with my own children, but not like it was when I grew up. Back then in Austria, it was a very different world. If we did something bad or we disobeyed our parents, the rod was not spared. Arnold had a difficult relationship with his father. Gustav did not listen to his children, often took a drink, and never hid that he appreciated his eldest son Maynard more. The reason for the latter was the unfounded suspicion that Arnold was not his biological child. The military past of the elder Schwarzenegger affected the way of the family. It seemed that the boys were brought up in the barracks. They were raised from their beds before dawn to do household chores. After that, there were rigorous exercises. Some sources claim that Gustav bullied and beat his youngest son, but it was he who nurtured the love of sports and children. Arnold had a good relationship with his mother and kept in touch with her until her death. "With the loss of my mother, my world has fallen apart," the actor said, claiming that his mother was the foundation of his success and his first love. She always encouraged her son in his endeavors and was invariably present at the openings of the films of the future star. The actor has often said that Aurelia played a key role in his success.
That's good. Can
Why
you
is
smile?
this? I smile?
Yeah, sure.
Of course I'm smiling. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
When I was very young, I visualized myself being and having what it was that I wanted. The mind is really so incredible. Before I won my first Mr. Universe, I walked around the tournament like I owned it. The title was already mine. I had won it so many times in my mind that there was no doubt I would win it. Then, when I moved on to the movies, the same thing. I visualized myself being a successful actor and earning big money. I could feel and taste success. I just knew it would happen. His school successes were very modest. He was a cheerful, good-natured boy, but sometimes showed his violent character. Arnold's father was an athlete and wanted his sons to become Bavarian curling champions. Under his father's influence, Arnold began playing football and several other sports, but at 13 years old, he decided to focus on bodybuilding. Everything started with Arnie's passion for cinema, which became a kind of escape from reality. Arnie was seriously interested in the films of Reg Park, a bodybuilder and star of the movies about Hercules, among others. The idols of the young man were Steve Reeves, and Johnny Weissmuller. As a teenager, I grew up with Steve Reeves. His remarkable accomplishments allowed me a sense of what was possible when others around me didn't always understand my dreams. Steve Reeves has been part of everything I've ever been fortunate enough to achieve. They inspired Arnie to choose an occupation that gave him a ticket to the world and helped develop Schwarzenegger's obsession with America. It was hard to make dreams come true, but his perseverance helped the young man. Could the ambitious newcomer then think that one day millions of viewers would fall in love with him and be happy to review films with him? We do not know this, but we are sure that his dreams have always been global. Share with us in the comments which Arnold films you love the most and why. And we're moving on. In 1960, Arnie began strength training. Every day, he devoted several hours to work out in the gym and at home. He even allocated a special room in which there was no heating. In addition, Arnie began to study anatomy and nutrition to understand how to become even more resilient. In one of the interviews, his mother recalled that at 14 years old, the young man often slipped away from home. He sneaked out the door while his dad was sleeping and ran to the football stadium to lift weights, there before coming home for a short nap. He spent the night in a barn to escape his father's wrath. Remembering that period, Arnie said, "I learned something from all these years of lifting and training hard. What I learned was that we are always stronger than we know."
And my father contributed for me to wanting to get away from Austria and to get away from home.
In 1961, Schwarzenegger met his first coach, the former Mr. Austria, Kurt Marnuel, who invited him to train at the gym in Graz. Arnie was so dedicated to the work that he sneaked into the local gym on weekends to work out even when it was closed. "It would make me sick to miss a workout. I knew I couldn't look at myself in the mirror the next morning if I didn't do it," recalls the actor. Arnie's parents were worried about his new hobby. Years later, on the 60 Minutes program, the actor admitted that his father beat him with a belt because he thought his son was gay. His mother also did not appreciate the posters of half-naked men on his wall and called the doctors to help. She asked the doctor, "Can you help me? I don't know if there's something wrong with my son because his wall is full of naked men. All of Arnold's friends have pictures of girls above their bed, and Arnold has no girls." Arnie went to work at 13 years old to buy himself sportswear. He tried various jobs in his youth. It taught Arnold to earn money. When the young man turned 15, he was obliged to pay for his stay in the house. Every month he gave 100 shillings out of 300 earned, which were supposed to compensate for his food. According to the actor, he hated it because he knew his friends did not pay for their accommodation, unlike him. Such conditions forced him to grow up early.
First of all, my parents would have never bought it for me because they didn't have the money. And so I bought it myself. I went to work and I figured out how to make the money and how to make them pay me a lot of times as a grown-up, even though I was like a 13 or 14-year-old kid.
On May 20th, 1971, Arnold's brother Meinhard died in a car accident while drink driving. Arnold could not attend Meinhard's funeral as he learned of his brother's death only 3 days after the incident. Meinhard had a wife and a 3-year-old son, Patrick. Later, Arnold paid for his nephew's education and helped him with immigration to the United States. The second tragedy in the family happened a year later when Gustav Schwarzenegger died of a stroke. In the upcoming documentary Pumping Iron, Arnold revealed that he didn't attend his father's funeral because he was preparing for a competition. But later, he and the producer admitted that they took the story from the biography of another bodybuilder. Thus, they only wanted to show things that some athletes could do. That deception was an attempt to make Arnold's image colder and to introduce contradictions into the film. For a long time, Schwarzenegger gave at least 3 versions of why he was absent from his father's funeral, so we can only guess the real reason. In an interview with Fortune in 2004, Schwarzenegger revealed how he suffered from his father's abuse. "My hair was pulled. I was hit with belts," Arnold admitted. "So was the kid next door. It was just the way it was. Many of the children I've seen were broken by their parents, which was the German-Austrian mentality. They didn't want to create an individual. It was all about conforming. I was one who did not conform, and whose will could not be broken. Therefore, I became a rebel. Every time I got hit, and every time someone said, 'You can't do this,' I said, 'This is not going to be for much longer, because I'm going to move out of here. I want to be rich. I want to be somebody.'" In 1965, 18-year-old Arnold was drafted into the Austrian army for a year, where he received a military specialty as a driver of the M47 Patton II tank. He received the position even though in the Austrian army it was usually for persons over the age of 21. The actor was not against the service and even vice versa, jokingly saying that he went there to eat and sleep. At home, they were fed poorly. The meat appeared at the family table just once a week. In the army, on the contrary, it was 3 times a week and positively affected the growing organism. In the end, Schwarzenegger gained 30 pounds. During the service, Arnie took part in the competition Mr. Europe among juniors, in which he won. For the sake of the competition, the future governor went AWOL, after which he ended up in a military prison for several weeks. In his book, Arnold, The Education of a Bodybuilder, Schwarzenegger recalled that he was in the punishment cell for a week, after which he was given a 2-day holiday as the officers considered his victory brought prestige to the army. Contrary to popular belief, it was not a debut at all. 2 years earlier, Arnie took an honorable second place at a lesser-known competition in Graz. He received the title of Best Built Man of Europe, which made him very famous among bodybuilders. Schwarzenegger found time and place for training even during tactical exercises, when he lived in the field for several weeks. He equipped the barbell with improvised materials and kept it in the tank. I made a lot of progress in the early stages of my training when I was in the Austrian army, and had a lot of things to do. When we were on maneuvers along the Czechoslovak border for 6 weeks, I had to drive a tank for 15 hours a day, fill fuel with a hand pump, fight huge fuel drums, and make repairs. We slept in the trenches or under the tanks and had to get up at 6 in the morning. However, my friend and I got up at 5, climbed into the tank tool compartment where we kept our rods and practiced for an hour until the general woke up. After the end of the day, part of the exercises, we trained for another hour. I can't imagine more difficult training conditions, and therefore I affirm that finding the time and energy to practice is a matter of motivation and interest. A real athlete will always find time and place for training in any situation, proudly recalled the actor. Arnold admitted that he was never an exemplary soldier and once even drowned his tank. Talking about his service in the army, Arnold waited with great impatience for the order to begin physical training. He called the main result of the service a significant increase in muscle mass and strength. Few people know that in the early years of bodybuilding, Schwarzenegger also participated in several Olympic weightlifting and powerlifting competitions. Schwarzenegger's first professional competition took place back in 1963. He won 2 weightlifting competitions from 1964 to 1965, and 2 powerlifting competitions in 1966 and 1968. In 1967, Schwarzenegger won the Munich stone lifting competition. After the army, 19-year-old Arnold moved to Munich, where he got a job in a fitness club. During that period, he slept on the floor in the gym until he managed to rent a flat. In his autobiography, Schwarzenegger recalled that at that time, he behaved extremely aggressively, getting into fights almost every day and collecting traffic tickets. "I was like a bull that was fattening up its meat," he wrote. After some time, Arnie began to manage the gym, but his financial situation remained poor. In 1966, Schwarzenegger flew on a plane for the first time to take part in the Mr. Universe contest in London for the first time. Arnold took second place, losing only to the American Chet Yorton. Such a good result was a pleasant surprise even for Arnie himself. Initially, he thought about 6th or even 7th place. Charles "Wag" Bennett, one of the judges for the 1966 competition, was impressed with Schwarzenegger and offered to coach him. Since Arnold had no money, Bennett invited him to live in his crowded family home above one of his 2 gyms in Forest Gate, London. As part of the training program developed by Bennett, Arnie focused on improving the muscles and strength of his legs. Life in London has brought its benefits. In addition to the development of muscles, Schwarzenegger also could pull up his English quite well. Life in the Bennett family strongly influenced Schwarzenegger's personality. Being with them made me so much more sophisticated. When you're the age I was then, you're always looking for approval, for love, for attention, and also for guidance. At the time, I wasn't really aware of that, but now looking back, I see that the Bennett family fulfilled all those needs, especially my need to be the best in the world, to be recognized, and to feel unique and special. They saw that I needed that care and attention and love, Arnie recalled. The 66th year was decisive for the future star. At Bennett's house, Schwarzenegger met childhood idol Reg Park, who would later become his friend and mentor. Bennett's mentorship paid off handsomely. In 1967, Schwarzenegger won the title for the first time and became the youngest Mr. Universe in history. Arnie at that time was only 20 years old. Schwarzenegger continued to collect titles, becoming Mr. Universe twice more. But by that period, another dream warmed the young man's heart. Arnold often said to his English teacher, "I'm going to become the greatest actor." Arnie dreamed of moving to the USA since he was 10 years old and looked at his career in bodybuilding as a chance to fulfill his dream. In the late 60s, he decided to act. In September 1968, Arnold arrived in America. It was risky because until the end of the 70s, he was there illegally, violating his visa conditions. By his admission then, Arnie did not speak English well and spoke with a strong accent, which created difficulties for him. Arnold's personal life at the beginning of a bodybuilding career became extremely stormy and caused the emergence of many legends and tales about it. Witnesses tell how once, on a California beach, he approached an unfamiliar girl and, without further ado, made her an intimate proposal. One of his friends, hastily intervening, began to explain to the girl, "My friend is new in the USA and does not yet know our customs." To which she replied, No, don't stop him." In an interview with Penthouse magazine, Arnold said that one woman offered to smear his body in chocolate and lick it. Other legends include the case when a fan undressed at the signing of autographs and asked, "Do you want to pump this body?" But it was not women that interested Arnie in the first place. After moving to the USA, Arnold called his main task as a bodybuilder cutting the muscle mass brought from Europe and giving it the desired shape. In his new encyclopedia of modern bodybuilding, Schwarzenegger wrote, "I was a capable student. I went up to the judges and asked what they thought I did wrong." Arnie learned a lot from his colleagues, including his idol, Olympic champion and four-time world weightlifting champion Yuri Vlasov. They met during the World Weightlifting Championships in Vienna in 1961, where the young and thin boy Arnold Schwarzenegger was introduced to Vlasov. 1969 was marked for Schwarzenegger by the beginning of his first serious relationship. He met Barbara Outland Baker, an English teacher. Their romance lasted until 1974. In his autobiography, Arnold mentioned Barbara more than once. Basically, it came down to this. She was a well-balanced woman who wanted an ordinary, solid life, and I was not a well-balanced man and hated the very idea of ordinary life. On the other hand, Barbara described Arnold as a fun, charismatic, but adventurous guy and explained the breakup by the fact that he became unbearable. The world revolved around him. Subsequently, Barbara wrote the book Arnold and Me in the Shade of the Austrian Oak, the writing of which Arnold not only did not interfere, but even gave her a 3-hour interview. But back to sports achievements. In the USA, Schwarzenegger surrounded himself with true professionals in his field. He trained under the guidance of the eminent Joe Weider. Between 1970 and 1974, one of Arnold's strength training partners was professional wrestler Rick Drayson. Schwarzenegger also became friends with the legendary Billy Graham, whose protégés include Hulk Hogan and Ric Flair. In 1970 in New York, 23-year-old Arnold won his first Mr. Olympia title. Hard work brought numerous victories. Arnold received the title 6 more times, but the victory at the Mr. Olympia competition in 1980 occupied a special place in his career. It was a surprise comeback after a 5-year hiatus. During the absence of Schwarzenegger, thanks to the growth in the popularity of bodybuilding, competition increased significantly, and few expected that Arnold would win again. The number of Arnie's victories at Mr. Olympia became a record that no one could beat until 1991. Schwarzenegger was considered one of the most important figures in bodybuilding history, so his legacy was immortalized in the annual Arnold Classic Bodybuilding competition. He remained a prominent figure in the sport long after his retirement. Partly, it happened because he owned gyms and regularly was published in specialized magazines. Arnie also managed numerous competitions and awards for a long time. At 30, the star returned to studies and graduated remotely from the University of Wisconsin-Madison. Arnie was serious about education. He visited the campus, took exams, and met with teachers. According to the university blog in 1979, the actor received a bachelor's degree in international fitness marketing and business administration. He even received an honorary doctorate in 1996 for his contribution to sporting events like the Special Olympics. In 1977, Schwarzenegger admitted to using anabolic steroids for performance enhancement. Steroids were helpful to me in maintaining muscle size while on a strict diet in preparation for a contest. I did not use them for muscle growth, but rather for muscle maintenance when cutting up. He also explained that they were legal and Arnie wanted to see what he could achieve with them. We were experimenting with it. It was a new thing, he added. At the same time, Arnie emphasized that he did not encourage drug use and did not want to set a bad example for children. But he said he had no problem with athletes taking nutritional supplements and other legal substances to improve their performance. In 1999, Schwarzenegger sued Willy Heep, a German doctor who publicly predicted his early death based on an association between steroid use and subsequent heart problems. Since the doctor never personally examined Arnold, Schwarzenegger won the case and received a $10,000 settlement. Meanwhile, Arnold's personal life was in full swing. In 1975, Schwarzenegger met hairdresser Sue Morey, and in August 1977, he began dating television journalist Maria Shriver, niece of President John F. Kennedy. Arnold met Maria at the Robert Kennedy tennis tournament in Forest Hills. Her brother Bobby decided to invite Arnold to a party full of celebrities after watching the film Pumping Iron. When Maria and Arnold met for the second time, rumors about their love relationship immediately spread. In an interview with Penthouse magazine, Arnold stated that Maria has always been his most ardent fan, who was well versed in bodybuilding and screamed his name the loudest in the hall at performances. After 1980, Schwarzenegger finally ended his sports career. There was a time where I wanted to be the most muscular man on stage, and to wipe out everyone else was the most important thing. There was literally nothing more important than that. But when I won the last Mr. Olympia in 1980, I said, what am I doing still running out with a little bathing suit here, oiled up? That prompted Arnie to devote himself to acting and directing all his energy to it. Starting in 1969, Arnold Schwarzenegger acted in films, as did many of his idols, such as Reg Park and Steve Reeves. His main problems were too much muscle mass, not quite natural looking for a film, and a noticeable German accent, because of which he had to avoid complex dialogues for a long time. For several films, Arnold had to lose weight. During that period, Schwarzenegger took acting lessons and worked on good pronunciation. His debut acting work in the cinema was the film Hercules in New York in 1970. Arnie got his role thanks to Joe Weider, the coach of the champions, who recommended him to the filmmakers. At the same time, Joe had to deceive, saying that before the actor brilliantly played Hamlet in London. Arnie's accent in the film was so noticeable that his lines had to be dubbed after production. By the way, it is the only film where Arnold was mentioned in the credits under the pseudonym Arnold Strong. The producer decided that the name Schwarzenegger did not sound good in English. Years later, Schwarzenegger would call the film his most disliked work in cinema. He considers the role so terrible that he even suggested that the U.S. intelligence agencies use the film as an instrument of torture for prisoners. Schwarzenegger's second film work was the role of an assassin in Robert Altman's 1973 detective thriller The Long Goodbye. It was followed by a much more prominent role in the adventure drama Stay Hungry, which appeared on the screens in 1976 for the role of Joe Santo. Arnold was awarded the Golden Globe Award and the New Movie Star nomination. Schwarzenegger often recalled the difficulties at the beginning of his acting career. It was very difficult for me in the beginning. I was told by agents and casting people that my body was too weird, that I had a funny accent, and that my name was too long. You name it, and they told me I had to change it. Basically, everywhere I turned, I was told that I had no chance. Schwarzenegger raised his acting profile quite well by appearing in the 1977 bodybuilding film Pumping Iron, which was mentioned earlier. Initially, Arnold did not want to participate in the movie because by the time of filming, he was a little fed up with the sport, but the director still managed to persuade Schwarzenegger. Probably the main argument was that participation in the film made it possible for the future star to appear on the big screen. The film worked well for the image of Arnold, and it eventually paid off. Also in 1977, he made guest appearances on the standalone episodes of the sitcom The San Pedro Beach Bums and the police drama The Streets of San Francisco. Surely, many have heard that Arnold Schwarzenegger auditioned for the lead role in the TV movie The Incredible Hulk, but did not get it because of his height. It was true, the role later went to the taller bodybuilder Lou Ferrigno. Did you know about this fact? Let us know in the comments. In 1979, Arnold appeared in the comedy The Villain with Kirk Douglas and Anne Margaret. A year later, he played the role of Mickey Hargitay, husband of 50-star Jane Mansfield, in the biopic The Jane Mansfield Story. The public accepted the first films with Arnold Schwarzenegger with great restraint. His first success came to him in 1982. Schwarzenegger's breakthrough film was the adventure epic Conan the Barbarian, released in 1982. The fantasy action movie was Arnie's first remarkable film role. Filming took place in the province of Almeria, near Madrid. and lasted about 5 months. The film director, John Milius, decided to refrain from using optical special effects, preferring to implement his ideas with the help of mechanical structures and optical illusions. The actors were forbidden to remove their costumes between takes to add reliability. In addition, weapons and equipment were made in natural weight. Therefore, actors had to sweat a lot to make everything look realistic. Exhausting training lasted about a year. The actors had to learn how to swing their weapons beautifully, pump up their physical form, and learn how to ride horses. Arnie did not avoid training either. He had already lost weight and did not reach the director's requirements. John Milius recalled, "If there were stars in my film with inflated egos, I would never have done what I had planned. Arnold is a great person. He's very disciplined and close to Conan in real life. Schwarzenegger himself created his character and his career. He worked hard, trained every day, and constantly repeated his lines. He was obsessed with them." Schwarzenegger performed most of the stunts himself, and the 2 swords that Conan fought with were made for the film and cost about $10,000 each. During the filming of the wolf chase sequence, Arnie tripped and hit his head on the rocks. It was rumored that he was close to a fatal outcome. The shooting of the love scene between Schwarzenegger and Bergman was the most difficult for the actor. For both Arnie and the girl, that experience was new. The film became a box office hit. It grossed more than $68 million worldwide, but the level of revenue did not allow the film to be classified as a blockbuster at that time. Some scholars and critics have interpreted the film's plot as a development of the themes of fascism and individualism. At the same time, critics spoke negatively about Schwarzenegger's acting skills and the scenes of violence in the film. Moreover, the actor was even nominated for the Golden Raspberry. However, despite that, Conan the Barbarian became incredibly popular among young men, and the future governor brought real-world fame. Schwarzenegger became a U.S. citizen on September 17, 1983. Shortly before that, he asked the Austrian authorities to keep his Austrian passport, since Austria usually does not allow dual citizenship. Arnie's request was granted. In 1984, as expected, a sequel, Conan the Destroyer, followed Conan the Barbarian. The continuation of the saga was supposed to overshadow the first part. Universal Pictures, especially after the huge success of Steven Spielberg's E.T., relied on positioning their products as entertainment for the whole family. It was decided to significantly reduce the amount of blood, violence, and sex, for which the first part was so fiercely criticized, and at the same time, remove pagan images from the picture. With such decisions, the studio hoped to attract more viewers, including children. For the same purpose, basketball superstar Wilt Chamberlain and outrageous singer Grace Jones were invited to the movie. The director of the first film, John Milius, refused to participate in the sequel after learning about the change. Richard Fleischer replaced him. Schwarzenegger also protested against such radical changes, but the bosses chose not to notice his objections. The new director agreed with Schwarzenegger's opinion, but complied with the wishes of Universal and shot the picture following studio requirements. In comparison with the first part, the plot has become simpler without breaking into episodes, as in Barbarian. What has become more so is all sorts of optical special effects. Upon release, the film received mixed reviews from critics, grossing approximately $30 million in the United States. The role of the Terminator was the most significant in Arnold Schwarzenegger's career.
I think this guy's a couple cans short of a six-pack.
You're close. Give them to me.
In 1984, James Cameron's sci-fi thriller The Terminator was released. Arnold Schwarzenegger got the role of a cyborg assassin sent back in time to kill a young girl named Sarah Connor. The history of creation says that 3 years earlier, in 1981 Rome, finishing work on his first significant project, Piranha Part 2, The Spawning, Cameron fell ill with a fever. In his delirium, he saw a man with a red eye chasing the girl. James's vision haunted him until he turned it into a manuscript. And in 1982, in collaboration with his friend William Wisher, Cameron wrote the script. The director said that several science fiction films of the 1950s, as well as the TV series The Outer Limits, influenced the film plot. Even then, Cameron had an idea for a robot made of liquid metal, capable of changing its shape depending on the circumstances. But in the mid-80s, special effects had not yet reached the required level, and besides, the project had a very modest budget. Initially, it was only $4 million, and then it was increased to $6.5 million. Therefore, the director had to abandon the idea of using a liquid Terminator. But as we all know, later, he realized the idea. Initially, Arnie was not considered for the role of the main villain. Among the applicants were such actors as O.J. Simpson, Mel Gibson, Jürgen Prochnow, and Lance Henriksen. The latter was Schwarzenegger's main rival for the role, as he most suited the image invented by Cameron. According to the director's idea, the Terminator was supposed to be a small person, able to get lost in the crowd and secretly integrate into the human community. But the studio wanted a more famous actor. Therefore, Arnie got the lead role despite Cameron, who was against taking a 35-year-old bodybuilder. Despite the small number of replicas of the main character, Arnie said only a little more than 70 words in the film. There were some problems with pronunciation, all because Schwarzenegger was only learning the language, and his speech suffered greatly from the Austrian accent. So, the famous phrase,
I'll be back,
could have sounded different, as Arnie asked to change it. He was afraid that he would not be able to pronounce it. Instead, he wanted to use the line, I will be back, which he considered more brutal. Cameron advised the actor not to teach him how to write scripts. As a result, Schwarzenegger had to rehearse pronouncing the famous phrase without hesitation. A budget of $6.5 million was sorely lacking for such an ambitious project, and so the film crew had to improvise. The scene was filmed illegally since they did not have the money and permission to shoot. They just dropped Arnie off in the middle of the desert and gave instructions. See that car over there? It is ready for filming. At my signal, go to the driver's door, look around, break the glass, open the door and get behind the wheel, start the car, and drive away. Contrary to low pre-release expectations, The Terminator topped the US box office for 2 weeks, eventually grossing over $78 million worldwide. It was incredible numbers taking into account the budget. Arnie wanted to voice his character in German, but he was not allowed to do so. The distributors found his Austrian accent too soft and inappropriate for his brutal character. Therefore, another person did it. Arnold's friends believed that the role of the Terminator would put an end to his acting career. However, the villainous role, consisting of only 17 phrases, made Arnie a world-famous star. The impressive image of an emotionless robot has become a cult for cinema. Thanks to the film, the word Terminator became a household word, and Arnold's phrase, I'll be back, became one of the most famous movie quotes. In 1985, Richard Fleischer's fantasy thriller Red Sonja was released. The film was shot in the wake of the success of the dilogy about Conan the Barbarian. Although there was no plot connection between the movies, Schwarzenegger played another hero here. Not Conan, but Calidor. Red Sonja was not successful at the box office, recouping less than half of the budget. The picture received negative reviews from critics, including the Golden Raspberry Award. But over time, it began to be considered a kind of classic of adventure cinema. There were rumors that an affair between Arnie and his partner in the film, Brigitte Nielsen, began on the set. These rumors were confirmed later, and in 2012, in an interview with 60 Minutes, the actor finally admitted to the relationship. At the time, he had an ongoing relationship with Maria Shriver. Later, he would say, I did feel bad about it, but all of my different things, they were mistakes, and my failure, my screw-ups. According to Nielsen, she did not know that Arnie was engaged. In the Daily Mail, she said that she felt like the only woman, and when she found out about Maria, she felt cheated. And in the book released in 2011, she revealed the details of their short-lived romance. We wanted to try everything, and so we did. There were no restrictions, no promises, nothing. And it was a great time in my life, Bridget said. Subsequently, Nielsen married Arnold's main cinema opponent of those years, Sylvester Stallone. In 1985, the classic 80s action movie Commando was released, in which Arnold played the role of the charismatic retired Colonel John Matrix.
Now I do.
What'd you do with Sully?
I let him go.
The film became very popular and was nominated for a Saturn Award for Best Visual Effects, but lost to Back to the Future. The film grossed $57.5 million on a budget of $9 million. The film was the 7th highest grossing R-rated film in the world in 1985. But not only iconic roles marked our hero in the mid-80s. On April 26, 1986, after 9 years of relationship, Arnold Schwarzenegger and Maria Shriver decided to get married. If I hadn't been her style and she hadn't been mine, we never would have ended up together. Maria meshed with everything that I was, what I stood for, and what I was doing. I got addicted to her. Maria was such a forceful personality that she would just run over guys. She wanted to be unique and different. Their wedding was in Hyannis, Massachusetts, in the Roman Catholic Church of St. Francis Xavier. The wife supported Schwarzenegger in every possible way, and while he was building a career on the set, she did housework, became a well-known TV journalist, and wrote several books. A year later, after the release of the not-so-successful action movie Raw Deal, Arnold began to read the offered scripts more closely. The first thing I look for in a script is a good idea. A majority of scripts are rip-offs of other movies. People think that they can become successful overnight. They sat down one weekend and wrote a script because they read that Stallone did that with Rocky. The actor noted. His searches led him to the Predator scenario. Predator was one of the scripts I read, and it bothered me in one way. It was just me and the alien. So we redid the whole thing so that it was a team of commandos, and then I liked the idea. I thought it would make a much more effective movie and be much more believable. I liked the idea of starting out with an action adventure, but then coming in with some horror and science fiction. Filming took place in the jungles of southern Mexico, and, according to Schwarzenegger, required a lot of physical effort. Actors suffered from heat, humidity, and mosquitoes, and at night they had to be afraid of snakes. Arnie had a hard time. Before filming, he had to lose 33 pounds, and during work, he suffered terribly from the cold, as he had to run in mud and clay and swim in cold water. The actor sent exercise equipment to Mexico to train before filming began. The film's screenwriter, Jim Thomas, was impressed with the former bodybuilder's training regimen.
What's the matter? The CIA got you pushing too many pencils? Huh?
The difficulties also affected the personal life of Arnie, who constantly missed wedding rehearsals. He argued that it was more important for him to make a good film than to play a good wedding. His hard work paid off. According to Empire magazine, the movie was ranked 366th on the list of the 500 best films. It was nominated for an Oscar in 1988 in the category Best Visual Effects. The film's composer, Alan Silvestri, won the Saturn Award for Best Music. McTiernan's film grossed $98 million on a $15 million budget. Based on the film, many computer games appeared. An interesting fact is that the two actors became governors of California and Minnesota. They were Arnold Schwarzenegger and Jesse Ventura. For Schwarzenegger, the role of a laconic strong man, a lone hero in action films and science fiction, was firmly entrenched.
I'd like you to volunteer to appear on tomorrow's broadcast of The Running Man.
Fuck you.
He appeared to the public in two subsequent films in such roles before. In November 1987, Arnold appeared in Paul Michael Glazer's fantasy dystopia The Running Man. The film was based on the novel of the same name by Stephen King, written 5 years earlier. Stephen King was very dissatisfied with the choice of the actor for the lead role and even asked not to use his name in the film's advertising campaign. In his opinion, the character of Arnold Schwarzenegger was the exact opposite of the hero in his story. He was an outsider loser who decided to take part in the game to earn money and get out of the poor quarter. The film turned out to be far from the story because it included plot twists from other movies. King has repeatedly stated that his work was conceived as a dark novel, and the film adaptation was a spectacular show. The film's budget ended up being $27 million, but it was only able to raise $38 million. Due to numerous scenes of violence, the picture was coolly received by the public. But one way or another, time puts everything in its place. In our time, the film is rightfully considered an action classic of the 80s, and even now it looks good. By the end of the 80s, Arnold Schwarzenegger had become an established action superstar, except for a small misfire with the film No Compromises, after which he became even more attentive to the choice of scripts and directors. In 1987, the 1,847th star with Schwarzenegger's name appeared on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. In the same year, he accepted Walter Hill's lead role offer without doubt, foreseeing the success of the upcoming film. The role of Ivan Danko in Red Heat became another milestone in his fees. For the first time, Arnie received a huge sum at that time, $10 million for the film. To get a handle on how Danko should react as a loyal Soviet in the West, I got to learn a little Russian, and it was a role for which my own accent was a plus. For filming in Red Heat, Arnie had to lose 11 pounds since Hill thought the actor was too big. Moreover, initially the protagonist was supposed to say even fewer lines, and his expression should not change throughout the film. But the director decided that stereotypes are good, but making a mummy out of a character was too much.
Да, мы взяли первый самолет сюда, как только получили эти новости. Мы хотим знать, что случилось. Товарищ консул должен сделать полный доклад и послать его в Москву.
Мне нечего декларировать.
The filming of the famous scene on Red Square remained a mystery. Some sources said the studio never got permission, so the shooting was on an amateur camera in secret. According to other information, the team achieved its goal, but they spent almost a year of persistent correspondence with Moscow officials for it. Box office receipts were small. They barely managed to cover the $30 million budget, but in the USSR, Red Heat gained popularity and even became a cult classic. Over time, the image of a silent pile of muscles began to weigh Arnold. He wanted to prove that he was wealthy as an actor and capable of more. So, he began acting in comedies and was no less organic there. "I was the most comfortable in comedy because I always thought there was a funny side to me," he says, adding that he cherished having iconic comedian Milton Berle as a mentor. The first comedy with Arnold Schwarzenegger was the film Twins in 1988, where the brilliant Danny DeVito acted as his partner. Instead of taking their usual film salary from the studio, Schwarzenegger, DeVito, and director Yvonne Reitman agreed with the studio that they would receive 40% of the box office. As a result, the trio received the highest salaries of their film career, because the movie became an incredible commercial success, grossing $216 million worldwide. By the way, Arnold became a millionaire back in the 70s. In 1968, he and his bodybuilding colleague Franco Colombo opened a construction business which grew after the 1971 earthquake in Los Angeles. Profits were used to build a mail-order business for bodybuilding and fitness equipment and instructions. The proceeds from those companies were used to trade in real estate. In 1983, together with partner Al Ehringer, Arnie began to buy real estate in Denver. It was supposed to build a shopping and entertainment complex, which subsequently would make profit, but the project was not implemented. But back to the acting career. The early 90s gave Arnold another iconic role.
Just shoved real hard.
Schwarzenegger learned about Total Recall in the mid-80s, maybe during the filming of the movie Commando. He liked the script, but the project remained unfulfilled due to the huge budget. After the bankruptcy of DEG, Schwarzenegger convinced Andrew G. Vagina and Mario Kassar, co-owners of the independent film studio Carolco Pictures, to acquire the film rights. Schwarzenegger wanted to star in the film, assuming that his fame would justify the money invested in his advice. Carolco completed the acquisition of most of DEG's business and assets in April 1989, and Schwarzenegger gained significant influence. Arnold believed he was like an executive producer without any responsibility in that project. He actively participated in everything he could influence. Schwarzenegger sincerely wanted the film to be a success. He retained Shusett as writer and co-producer along with producer Buzz Feitshans, who personally oversaw script changes, cast, and set design. As a director, Arnold hired Paul Verhoeven as he was impressed with his RoboCop, in which he was considered for the lead role. Total Recall received mixed reviews from critics, who generally praised Schwarzenegger's production and acting but criticized the violent content. The film earned an estimated $260 million worldwide, making it the fifth highest grossing film of the year. Also in 1990, Schwarzenegger reunited with director Yvonne Reitman, who directed him in Twins. In the action comedy Kindergarten Cop, Arnold played the role of John Kimball, a tough undercover detective working as a kindergarten teacher. The audience warmly received the film, and with a budget of $26 million, it grossed more than $200 million. In the early 90s, Schwarzenegger tried himself as a director. He first directed an episode for the TV series Tales from the Crypt. Then, in 1992, he directed a TV movie called Christmas in Connecticut. Both works did not attract much attention. Schwarzenegger's commercial peak was an epic return to the role of the T-800 in James Cameron Terminator 2: Judgment Day, which became the highest-grossing film of 1991. According to many researchers, the film made an invaluable contribution to the development of computer animation and was able to change the attitude of the creators of other films.
He's not back there. There's nobody behind us.
Are you all right?
Yeah. Can you even see anything?
I see everything.
Cool.
The film was one of the first to use computer-assisted image synthesis, now better known as computer animation. The production of 73 fragments, which take up 4 minutes of screen time, took 8 months. 100,000 lines of fundamentally new software were created to work on the film and allowed the modeling of moving three-dimensional objects, including a person. Approximately $500,000 has been invested in its development. To create an image of a liquid T-1000 flowing into the cockpit of a helicopter, they used the software that was created earlier for the filming of The Abyss, Cameron's previous film. The sequel won 4 Oscars, 5 Academy of Science Fiction and Horror Film Awards, 5 MTV Awards, and more. The movie, as of 2022, was ranked 29th in the IMDb ranking of the 250 best movies of all time. The box office of the film also staggered the imagination. The film collected more than $500 million at the worldwide box office. For the next 10 years, Arnold continued to act in films regularly. Among the films of that period, we would like to mention a few. In their third collaboration, Schwarzenegger and Cameron met on the set of True Lies. The film was a remake of the 1991 French comedy, The Total. In the remake, you can see a significant difference in the approach to European and American cinema. In the French film, the emphasis is more on acting and playing up the social stereotypes of a middle-class French family. The picture was aimed at the locals and collected good box office. The Hollywood film, having a significantly larger budget, focuses on action elements and special effects. In addition, the film is supplemented with a parody reference to the image of James Bond. According to critics, those moments make Cameron's film similar in plot, aimed at the English-speaking market. The movie created another beautiful duet. The chemistry between Jamie Lee Curtis and Arnold Schwarzenegger would not be noticed only by the blind. The film grossed around $380 million worldwide, making it the third highest-grossing film of 1994, behind Forrest Gump and The Lion King. Another stellar reunion marked 1994. Schwarzenegger, DeVito, and Reitman again converged in one film. After the successful collaboration between Schwarzenegger and Reitman in the films Twins, which grossed $217 million, and Kindergarten Cop, which grossed over $200 million, experts predicted success for the new film as well. However, the sci-fi comedy Junior failed. It raised just over half its budget, grossing a total of $108 million worldwide. Over the years of family life, Arnold and his wife had 4 beautiful children. They lived with the whole large family in Brentwood in a house with an area of about 1,000 square meters. Schwarzenegger maintained strict discipline, waking up the children at 6 in the morning and forcing them to exercise. Arnold unceremoniously sent children's things scattered around the house into the fireplace, and untucked sheets quickly were thrown out the window. At the same time, he did not allow the maids to touch the children's rooms, as he considered it a privilege. Children had to earn such a luxury. But despite a strict upbringing, Arnie developed a close relationship with his children. He tells Jay Leno on The Tonight Show that while he has his hands full, he finds fatherhood really exciting. Taking them to school in the morning sometimes, watching them do sports, getting smarter than I am, it's a lot of fun. It's really great. After school, the kids usually spent time on the set of Schwarzenegger's movies, which he called the perfect after-school program. In his trailer, the actor's eldest daughter did her homework. His parenthood was not without funny cases. One day during the filming of Terminator 2, Arnie met his daughter, Catherine, in costume and makeup. I did not look like her daddy. Part of the skull was gone, metal was sticking out with a little blood around it, and she flipped out. It was not one of my best ideas, he admitted. There was another story when he took his eldest son fishing, and the hook hit Patrick in the eyelid. All of a sudden, Patrick was saying, "Daddy, ow!" Arnie recalled. Recalling his parents' upbringing methods, Arnold once said, "Sometimes you have to appreciate the very people and circumstances that traumatize you. Today I hail the strictness of my upbringing and the fact I didn't have anything I wanted in Austria because those were the very factors that made me hungry. It put fuel on the fire in my belly. It drove and motivated me." But at the same time, Schwarzenegger claimed that he did not want to raise children in his parents' way, even if the fruits of his parental labors were not immediately visible. His eldest daughter, Christina, later admitted to reporters, "We do everything together. We are all very, very close and love one another." In April 2020, a video of the daughter and father doing his favorite thing, rubbing his cowboy boots, appeared on the internet. As for acting achievements, it is worth noting that Schwarzenegger's films that followed Junior, including End of Days, The Sixth Day, and Collateral Damage, were met by critics and viewers rather restrainedly. Films were distinguished by the gloominess of his characters, filled with suffering and pain. It reflected the inner state of Arnold, who underwent heart surgery in 1997. In 2003, the long-awaited sequel Terminator 3: Rise of the Machines was released and received attention. Schwarzenegger initially refused to star in Terminator 3 because he believed that only Cameron, who created his character and directed the first 2 films, could direct the third film. But despite his persuasion, Cameron refused because he believed he had already finished the story. But, still feeling that the character of the Terminator would not be canonical without Schwarzenegger, Cameron advised Arnold to accept the role and ask for at least $30 million for it. With a final budget of $187.3 million, the film became one of the most expensive. The budget included a director's fee of $5 million and Schwarzenegger's record fee of $30 million. Terminator 3: Rise of the Machines received positive reviews and earned an estimated $433 million worldwide. In the same year, Arnold won the election for governor of California. It became impossible to participate in any filming, not counting the films Around the World in 80 Days and The Expendables, released in 2010 by Sylvester Stallone. And yes, the 2009 film Terminator Salvation uses a digital image of Schwarzenegger. Arnold Schwarzenegger announced his desire to become governor of California back in 1992 on The Tonight Show with Jay Leno. Those intentions began to materialize in 2002, but he refused to nominate his candidacy. At the same time, a compromising article about Arnold appeared in Premiere magazine, accusing the actor of cheating on his wife and making transparent allusions to his connections with various co-stars. As noted by Reuters, data on that article, by a strange coincidence, was sent from the office of the incumbent Governor Gray Davis. However, the actresses had already sent angry letters to the editorial office of the magazine, refuting the accusations against Arnie, calling them a political order. There was another problem on the way to the goal, connected with the provocative statements of the actor. Back in 1988, Arnold told Playboy that he would never let his wife or mother wear pants when they were around him, and in 2002, in an interview with Esquire, he was not very tactful about blondes and their brains. As much as when you see a blonde with great tits and a great ass, you say to yourself, hey, she must be stupid or must have nothing else to offer, which maybe is the case many times. Despite his marriage to Maria Shriver, a representative of the influential Democratic Kennedy clan, Schwarzenegger considers himself a staunch Republican. His views contrast with the political convictions of most show business figures, usually supportive of the Democrats. At the 2004 Republican National Convention, Schwarzenegger spoke about the reason he became a Republican and not a Democrat, remembering the days when he first came to the US and had difficulty understanding English. I heard Humphrey saying things that sounded like socialism, which I had just left, but then I heard Nixon speak. He was talking about free enterprise, getting the government off your back, lowering the taxes and strengthening the military. Listening to Nixon speak sounded more like a breath of fresh air. I said to my friend, "What party is he?" My friend said, "He's a Republican." I said, "Then I am a Republican." And I have been a Republican ever since. Even though Schwarzenegger made several negative statements against the Democrats, he is more liberal on some issues than most of his fellow party members. Schwarzenegger supports the position of the Republicans on issues of same-sex marriage and the restriction of illegal immigration, but is in solidarity with the Democrats on the abortion ban and the restriction of the right to freely sell weapons. Arnold supports the legalization of marijuana for medical purposes. That centrist position won the votes of both Democrats and floating voters. The fame, to which many politicians go for years, also helped. In 2002, the Schwarzenegger campaign team launched an initiative called Proposition 49, which designated money for after-school programs aimed at keeping young people out of trouble and protecting them from gangs. But another factor was decisive. On the same Jay Leno show, Arnie presented his wealth as a guarantee of the honesty and transparency of his intentions, as well as the protection of the rights of ordinary people. The biggest problem we have is that California is being run now by special interests. We have to stop that. The nomination of Schwarzenegger in 2003 caused a family scandal. As Schwarzenegger later admitted, his wife Maria Shriver burst into tears when he told her about his participation in the upcoming elections. He made the final decision only after Maria calmed down and gave the go-ahead. In 2003, Arnold Schwarzenegger was elected to the post of governor of California by the Republican Party, defeating the incumbent governor, Democrat Gray Davis. Arnold became the 38th governor of the state and the first state governor born outside of the United States since 1862. The American media accompanied the course of the election campaign with headlines referring to the most iconic works of Arnie in the cinema: Governator, Running Man, and Terminator 4: Rise of the Candidate. In the year of his first term, Schwarzenegger proposed massive cuts to the state budget, but met resistance in the California state legislature. And when San Francisco began issuing same-sex marriage licenses at the behest of Mayor Gavin Newsom, the governor ordered the state's attorney general to intervene and subsequently vetoed legislation that would have legalized same-sex marriage. Because his opponents in the legislature opposed budget cuts, Schwarzenegger odiously called them girls. In 2004, Schwarzenegger gave a speech at the Republican National Convention supporting the re-election of George W. Bush. The governor began 2006 by apologizing for holding snap elections that cost public money and proposing a centrist agenda to move forward. He also spoke out against the federal government's attempt to build a fence on the Mexico-US border and compared it to the Berlin Wall. That same year, Schwarzenegger made several attempts to tackle global warming by signing legislation and negotiating a carbon trading market creation with British Prime Minister Tony Blair. By the end of the year, the governor called on the federal government to set a deadline for the US troops' withdrawal from Iraq. During his first term, Arnold faced strong opposition against him. The compromising campaign led to a significant drop in his rating. In addition to accusations of a conflict of interest between a civil servant and business interests, accusations of sexual harassment, homophobia, marijuana, and anabolic steroid use, representatives of the Democratic Party also recalled the Nazi past of Arnold's late father. Despite all the difficulties, on November 7, 2006, the incumbent Republican Arnold Schwarzenegger defeated the state treasurer Democrat Phil Angelides in the election of the governor of California, thereby extending his term. Upon returning to the office, Schwarzenegger vowed to be a centrist and work with Democrats to resolve statewide political issues. A few days later, he proposed universal health coverage in the state and called for new bonds for schools, prisons, and other infrastructure. In May 2007, Schwarzenegger met with two of his colleagues in Canada, Dalton McGuinty and Gordon Campbell, to discuss climate change and advocate for stem cell research. In late 2007, Arnold was criticized for Amendment SB 777, which lists the types of discrimination prohibited in public schools. The main salvo of criticism was directed against the inclusion of gays, lesbians, bisexuals, and transgenders in this list. In 2008, the governor proposed a balanced budget amendment to the state constitution, and in response to the Great Recession, Schwarzenegger proposed a tight fiscal policy. Continuing his efforts to address environmental issues, the governor signed a memorandum of understanding with Mexican President Felipe Calderón and signed into law the Global Warming Act. In the U.S. presidential election, Schwarzenegger supported John McCain. In the Great Recession of 2009, Schwarzenegger urged the legislation to implement drastic budget cuts and warned that the state was at risk of insolvency. At the same time, the governor approved President Barack Obama's federal stimulus bill. Schwarzenegger appointed Laura Chick as Inspector General to oversee California's share of the bill. In May, the governor supported the legalization of marijuana. As a Republican, Arnold Schwarzenegger opposed same-sex marriages at the beginning of his political career, but during a loud public debate and a series of lawsuits in California, he changed his position and called for a renewal of their registration. Despite Schwarzenegger's titanic efforts to cut state spending, he never managed to overcome the acute budget deficit. The governor's attempts to replenish the treasury by raising several indirect taxes failed in a referendum, and cuts in civil servants, police officers, nurses, and teachers provoked strong union resistance. According to the U.S. Constitution, Schwarzenegger is not eligible to run for president because he was born outside the U.S. Arnold currently sees the prospect of his presidency bypassing the appropriate amendment to the Constitution as unlikely. So, his political career was over, and Arnold was about to return to the cinema. But family problems prevented him from putting the plan into practice as soon as possible. But before we get to this chapter of his life, we invite you to press the subscribe button and the bell to find out more interesting and unexpected facts about your favorite celebrities. Subscribe, and we'll continue. In January 2011, weeks after stepping down as governor, Schwarzenegger announced that he was reading several new scripts for future films. However, 6 months later, Schwarzenegger's entertainment advisor announced that all film projects currently in development were halting, adding that Schwarzenegger was focused on personal matters and was unwilling to agree to any production schedules or deadlines. Soon, the actor announced his divorce from Maria Shriver. 2 weeks after the Silver Wedding, it was revealed that more than 10 years ago, Schwarzenegger became the father of an illegitimate child, Joseph, who was born by one of his housekeepers, Mildred Patricia Baina. Instead of doing the right thing, I just put the truth in a mental compartment and locked it up where I didn't deal with it every day. Schwarzenegger's wife suspected him of cheating long before the divorce, but did not try to sort things out until her husband left the post of governor of California. After a long silence, it was difficult for her to talk to him about an unpleasant topic, so in early 2011, she turned to a family psychologist for help. Oddly enough, Arnold had no idea why Maria suddenly wanted to attend a therapy session. He was sure it would be about the changes his resignation brought to the family, but the conversation turned out quite differently. According to Schwarzenegger, his romance with married housekeeper Mildred Baena began in 1996 when Maria went on vacation with her children, and he was busy filming the movie Batman and Robin. Soon, Mildred gave birth to a son, Joseph, and wrote her husband in the paternity column. According to Arnold, he believed what he wanted to believe, but tried to keep Mildred in his house to better control of the situation. During that period, Maria once asked him if he was the father of Joseph Baena, but he firmly answered no. Schwarzenegger convinced himself for years that he was not related to Joseph, but with age, the boy became more and more like him, and in the end, he could not deny the truth. Maria also noticed the similarity between her husband and the son of a housekeeper. Even before the session with a family psychologist, she had a difficult conversation with Mildred Baena, who told her who Joseph's real father was. By that time, the housekeeper had divorced her husband, and Schwarzenegger began to secretly provide her and her children with financial support. In an interview with Hello in 2011, Baena spoke about that conversation with Shriver. "She was so strong. She cried with me and told me to get off my knees. We held each other and I told her it wasn't Arnie's fault. It takes two." Following the divorce decision, Arnold kept the house in Brentwood while Maria bought a new house nearby, so the children could travel between their homes. They shared custody of the two younger children. Schwarzenegger and Shriver only finalized their divorce in 2021, 10 years after separation. Despite the breakup, Schwarzenegger and Shriver remain on good terms for the sake of their children. They celebrate anniversaries together. Both were present at the graduation of their youngest son and the wedding of their eldest daughter. At the same time, Arnie maintains a relationship with the youngest illegitimate child. He supported the Baena family financially, paid for Joseph's college, and even attended graduation in 2019. "Congratulations, Joseph," the actor tweeted at the time. 4 years of hard work studying business at Pepperdine, and today is your big day. You have earned all the celebration, and I'm so proud of you. I love you." In addition, he bought Baena a 4-bedroom house with a swimming pool in Los Angeles so that she and Joseph could live in it. The young man works in real estate but is increasingly trying to be like his father. In his latest Instagram posts, it is easy to see Joseph's desire for a physical resemblance to Arnie. The photos show regular workouts, Schwarzenegger's signature poses, and cute joint pictures with his father while riding bicycles. Joseph told Men's Health, "My father really inspires me. He kind of created the ideal physique for most people." Unfortunately, according to insider information, Joseph's relationship with his siblings never worked out. The first film with the participation of Arnold after his return to the cinema was the action movie The Expendables 2. Filming for the $100 million film began in October 2011 and took place over 3.5 months, predominantly in Bulgaria, receiving mostly positive reviews from audiences and critics and grossing $315 million worldwide. The Expendables 2 surpassed the original film and remained the most successful film in the series to date. Arnold also voiced the main character in the animated series The Governator, and already in 2013, the film The Last Stand was released, in which Arnold, for the first time in 10 years, had the lead role. Many critics noted the obvious parallels between the movie and classic westerns. It is not surprising because the director Kim Ji-woon is an ardent fan of this genre. The picture received mixed reviews from the audience, but the majority still liked the film. In 2013, Schwarzenegger along with Stallone played in the action movie Escape Plan by Mikhail Hofstrom.
Rottmeier. Emil Rottmeier.
Really not much in the handshaking mood right now.
Okay.
Stallone and Schwarzenegger have discussed the idea of starring in the same film since the mid-80s. Various versions of the script were written, but according to Schwarzenegger, his shooting schedules did not match Stallone's one. After Schwarzenegger took over as governor and then made a cameo appearance in The Expendables, they returned to the idea of working together. The box office in the United States was low, so the action film grossed only $25 million. However, Escape Plan took first place in several Asian and European markets, which ended up making a good profit, with a worldwide gross of $137 million, against a budget of $54 million. As for the quality of the film, it can only be noted that the film turned out to be, at best, a passing one, and there is no point in focusing attention on it. Time ruthlessly hinted at the imminent decline of Schwarzenegger's career. The generation of viewers has changed, and classic action heroes were no longer in such demand. Arnie himself was no longer the same, but his roles, for the most part, seemed like an endless repetition of the same thing. In August 2013, Arnie took part in the filming of The Expendables 3, in which, as usual, a scattering of famous actors appeared. Jason Statham, Mel Gibson, Harrison Ford, Antonio Banderas, Dolph Lundgren, and of course, Sylvester Stallone. In September of the same year, Schwarzenegger starred in the film Maggie and played the role of a farmer. Then, with Terminator Genisys, Arnold returned to the franchise that made him a superstar in the fantastic action movie directed by Alan Taylor. In addition to Schwarzenegger, Emilia Clarke, Jason Clarke, and Jai Courtney also played.
You named it?
Hello, calories. It is nice to meet you.
Are you kidding me?
The film was negatively received by critics, who berated the plot and the main character's acting, with Schwarzenegger's return and performance being praised. Have you watched this movie? If yes, did you like it? Share your opinion in the comments. As a result, Terminator Genisys grossed over $440 million worldwide, making it the second highest grossing film of the franchise and Schwarzenegger's career after Judgment Day. The formidable and brutal Arnie does not have many weaknesses, according to him. Among them is a craving for sweets and sex. Everything is clear with the first one. Ice cream, any kind of dessert, cream puffs, Kaiserschmarrn, an Austrian dish, carrot cake, a good New York cheesecake. You say it and I go for it. My weakness is sugar. But according to the legends, which the actor may spread, Schwarzenegger has sex 5 times a day, which, as a result, is 1,820 times a year. Not bad for a man his age. But we are talking about the Iron Arnie. At the time of this video's release, Schwarzenegger's last notable film was in Terminator Dark Fate. Despite the frank pipeline, this franchise still attracts the attention of nostalgic viewers. The actor has a weakness for this character. He admits this in an interview with Parade. The character got me into action movies. In the history of Hollywood, no one ever came here with an accent and became a leading man like that. Hopping back into the character was second nature. You put the clothes on, you get into the scene, and you feel like you've never really left, he says. But still, age took its toll, and that meant training even harder to keep up with the stunts and busy schedule. It's demanding. I'm 72 and you shoot from 6 in the evening to 6 in the morning, and no one is telling you, okay, if you need to, go take a nap now, like they normally do with elderly people. The film received mostly negative reviews from critics and viewers, and turned out to be a box office failure, which brought the creators and investors losses of up to $130 million. In April 2020, Terminator Dark Fate ranked second on Deadline.com's list of the most commercially failed films of 2019. But it is unlikely that the commercial failure of the movie worries Arnold. According to the actor's tax return for 2000, his assets were estimated at $200 million. It is worth noting that Schwarzenegger regularly donates significant amounts to charity. Up to $5 million has been donated to the Special Olympics, Nelson Mandela's Children's Fund, and the 9/11 Victims Fund. He donated a $2 million home to the Catholic Archbishop of Los Angeles. Since his divorce from Maria Shriver in 2011, his net worth has been estimated at around $400 million and has even gone as high as $800 million based on tax returns he filed in 2006. Now, Arnold is 75. In 2018, he underwent emergency open-heart surgery to replace a pulmonary valve. I underwent open-heart surgery this spring. I had to use a walker. I had to do breathing exercises 5 times a day to retrain my lungs. I was frustrated and angry, and in my worst moments, I couldn't see the way back to my old self. In 2020, 23 years after his first operation, Schwarzenegger underwent surgery to install a new aortic valve. Now, the actor lives with his cute donkey Lulu, miniature horse Whiskey, 3 dogs, and girlfriend Heather Milligan in a large 1-story house on the outskirts of Los Angeles. Near the house, there is a huge green area for walking the mansion owner and his pets. He still does not forget about sports, though adjusted to health. After the first operation, Schwarzenegger's doctor put him on a diet. He convinced him to give up meat and dairy products. Go green, green, green. I said, wait a minute, that sounds like my environmental speech. This is how Arnie recalled that conversation with the doctor in an interview. True, the rebellious nature did not leave Arnie even at a respected age. He periodically rebels against the diet. If I'm in Austria, I still have a Wiener Schnitzel. I sometimes buy ice cream, and I still make my steaks, he says. In August 2020, Schwarzenegger became a grandfather for the first time. The eldest daughter and her 41-year-old husband, Chris Pratt, gave the actor a granddaughter, Lila Maria Pratt. On Jimmy Kimmel Live in April, he commented on his status for the first time, noting that he is happy to be a grandfather, but feels old. We live at the same time as those who are able to show by his example that nothing is impossible for a person who works on himself. Arnold was not a talented actor from birth, but due to his diligence and perseverance, he was able to become great in this sphere. Although he has not been governor for a long time, Arnold does not bypass important world events. In 2022, he harshly condemned Russia's invasion of Ukraine.
To the Russian soldiers listening to this broadcast, you already know much of the truth that I've been speaking. You have seen it with your own eyes. I don't want you to be broken like my father.
Arnold's film career has not come to an end, and he will surely delight us with unexpected cameos, reminding us of himself and his legacy. Arnold's upcoming roles include David Sandberg's fantasy action movie Kung Fury 2, in which Arnold, along with Michael Fassbender and the director, will play the lead roles. If the project is completed and still comes out on the screens, then we will be able to see Arnold as the President of the United States. Fortunately, the US government, at least in the movies, allows an immigrant to become the head of state. But not everyone who achieved their American dream has been able to stay on top over time, and even talent does not always save from the abyss. That's what happened to Jean-Claude Van Damme, another 1990s action movie star who built his career on his own and ruined it on his own. Click on the video on your screen and find out what happened to the cult actor and why few people remember him now. Also, don't forget to like the video. Biographer was with you. We'll be back.